as they did initially, to be quiet, and when it's time to say something, but how you say it. But we're also so excited about a man who, or should I say a person, because Job could be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
A person who, though he was going through, stayed convicted in his innocence and convicted that God would redeem him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was not going to back down from that, no matter what people said. And that is really something. So let us pray.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Heavenly Father, our God and our Creator, we thank you and we honor you, for you are God. We thank you for the rising of the sun and the going down of the same. We thank you for allowing us to be a part of this beautiful day. We thank you for creating us.
Yes.
We thank you for every discovery that we make that helps us get closer to you. God, we thank you for forgiveness. We thank you for knowing that we don't have to carry the bondage of our past, the burden of mistakes that we've made, oh God, that each day is a new day. And we greet that.
Yes.
God, we ask your blessings and your Holy Spirit to abide upon this time that we spend together, continuing to learn more about Job and to be introduced to a new friend. In Jesus' name,
Yes.
amen.
Amen.
Well, last week our discussion got so good and we ran out of time. So I want to just quickly read the chapters we were not able to read, 29 through 31. And I want to read them from the Message translation. Bev hasn't been here in a minute, so she could share that version with us. So starting with Job 29. And then after we finish, then we're going to go on into our assignment for today. Job now resumed his response. Now you'll remember that Job has been going on for like 6 chapters. Job, he's like, okay, I've had enough. Zophar said, I'm through. He won't say he did anything wrong, and I know he did.
Yeah, we know he
And
did.
so he's through. So Job now resumed his response. Oh, how I long for the good old days, when God took such very good care of me. He always held a lamp before me, and I walked through the dark by its light. Oh, how I miss these golden years when God's friendship graced my home, when the Mighty One was still by my side, and my children were all around me, when everything was going my way and nothing seemed too difficult. When I walked downtown and sat with my friends in the public square, young and old greeted me with respect. I was honored by everyone in town. When I spoke, everyone listened. They hung on my every word. People who knew me spoke well of me. My reputation went ahead of me. I was known for helping people in trouble and standing up for those who were down on their luck. The dying blessed me, and the bereaved were cheered by my visits. All my dealings with people were good. I was known for being fair to everyone I met. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame, father to the needy and champion of abused aliens. I grabbed street thieves by the scruff of the neck and made them give back what they'd stolen. I thought I'd die peacefully in my own bed, grateful for a long and full life. A life deep-rooted and well-watered, a life limber and dew-fresh. My soul suffused with glory and my body robust until the day I die. Men and women listened when I spoke, hung unexpectedly on my every word. After I spoke, they'd be quiet, taking it all in. They welcomed my counsel like spring rain, drinking it all in. When I smiled at them, they could hardly believe it. Their faces lit up. Their troubles took wing. I was their leader, establishing the mood and setting the pace by which they lived. Where I led, they followed. How is Job feeling?
He's talking about all the good times that he had, that he talked about how good he was to people.
Mm-hmm.
That
Not talk. He remembered the
Remembered.
good days.
Yes.
I wrote here that Job he reflected back and he talked about he remembered the good days and how blessed he was with his relationship with God, and that he even talked about he was blessed to have his relationship with his friends. And he goes on and he talked about his security, and plus he talked about at one time he was a confident man. Then he goes on and talks about, that not only he had everything going for him, he was a leader in the community. And not only a leader in the community, he was a, how could I put it, he was like kind of authority figure in the hood.
So he kind of went from defending himself to really he's lamenting the loss of stature, the things that were. And in a way, when I read it, I was kind of like, wow, Job. Sometimes we can get so into what we do that we assume that God owes us something because of all of the good things that we do. And Lord knows, bless you, He's done many good things, but sometimes we can assume that we're owed something because of that. I mean, that's what I kind of got from that. I'm like, whoa.
And the thing that lifted up in me is that he says, with all the good that I've done for everyone else, I thought I'd die in old age, that my body would not fail me, and that I'd die a peaceful death. And that's what he says. That's what I was working for,
But now that we all know the Lord, we know that we could have done none of that without God. None of it. And God gonna tell them later.
And there's another side of me that says, well, yeah, but that's what we're supposed to do. He has done everything that he was supposed to do, and why shouldn't he believe that he's going to rest well? He's going to die peacefully. I mean, we make those kinds of assumptions. Of course, he does not know what is going on behind the scenes. Have you ever gotten to a point where you're going through something, and just at the point you think you cannot take anymore, it turns around? Now, sometimes, though, we get a little too quick, and we make decisions that we shouldn't have made because we couldn't take it no more.
God's not moving fast enough.
God's not moving fast enough for us. Yeah, but there have been times, if and once we experience that enough, we should get to a point where we say, okay, I've been here before.
Again,
been here before. Okay, all I gotta do is just make it one day at a time, one hour by hour. Whatever I gotta do, because I know my change is coming.
Yes.
It's right there. It's just right there. I just don't know, when it's gonna happen. So Job, to me, is getting to that point. He's fed up. He's fed up.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's really, so anyway, going to 30. But no longer, now I'm the butt of their jokes. Young ruffians, whippersnappers. Why, I considered their fathers mere inexperienced pups, but they are worse than dogs, good for nothing, stray, mangy animals, half starving, scavenging the back alleys, howling at the moon, homeless gutter snipes, chewing old bones and licking old tin cans, outcasts from the community, cursed as dangerous delinquents. Nobody would put up with them. They were driven from the neighborhood. You could hear them out there at the edge of town, yelping and barking, huddled in junkyards, a gang of beggars and no names thrown out on their ears. But now I'm the one they're after, mistreating me, taunting and mocking. They abhorred me. They abused me. How dare these scoundrels? They spit in my face. Now that God has undone me and left me in a heap, they hold nothing back. Anything goes. They come at me from my blind side, trip me up, then jump on me while I'm down. They throw every kind of obstacle in my path, determined to ruin me, and no one lifts a finger to help me. They violate my broken body, trample through the rumble of my ruined life. Terrors assault me, my dignity in shreds, salvation up in smoke, and now my life drains out as suffering seizes and grips me hard. Night gnaws at my bones, the pain never lets up. I'm tied hand and foot, my neck in a noose. I twist and turn, thrown face down in the muck. I'm a muddy mess, inside and out. I shout for help, God, and get nothing, no answer. I stand to face you in protest, and you give me a blank stare. You've turned into my tormentor. You slap me around, knock me about, you raise me up so I'm riding high, then drop me, and I crashed. I know you're determined to kill me, to put me 6 feet under. What did I do to deserve this? Did I ever hit anyone who was calling for help? Haven't I wept for those who live a hard life, been heartsick over the lot of the poor? But where did it get me? I expected good, but evil showed up. I looked for light, but darkness fell. My stomach's in a constant churning, never settles down. Every day confronts me with more suffering. I walk under a dark cloud. The sun is gone. I stand in the congregation and protest. I howl with the jackals. I hoot with the owls. I'm black and blue all over, burning up with fever. My fiddle plays nothing but the blues. My mouth harp wails laments.
Yes.
Poor Job.
Oh, Joe.
That sounds like some of my journals I've written in the past. You know, when you're mad at God or you're mad at everybody, you just start writing down what you feel. He went from blaming the people, now he's turned it on. He's kind of mad at God right now.
And he's been doing that throughout.
Throughout he has.
And he speaks to how everything has turned around. You know, you could be, sometimes you can go from the penthouse to the park bench, and that's what he speaks about, where he's lost all his respect. The people have lost respect for him, and things of that nature. Not only even when he speaks at the end about when he in this book it says it talks about his companions are like an ostrich, and you know what the ostrich do? They put their head in the sand. So that's why, and he's saying that is just like, that's what his friends are doing right now. They putting their head in the sand as he goes through this time.
Because during this time, and even to some degree with some people of God, when you're elevated, you get the utmost respect. And don't let you fall now from that. And then people, regardless of how I'm not saying that every reason the person falls from grace is something negative that they've done. Like you said, you could people, most of us or some of us are a check away from poverty anyway, you know? And so anything could happen to cause a person's life to change dramatically. Women who lose their husbands, men who lose their wives, and you're dependent upon that income, you know, and now you no longer have that. All of a sudden you lose your home or your job. You go to work and you get a pink slip. You know, things happen in life. And because we're sometimes so tied up into our stuff and what makes us important and impressive to people and to in others' eyes, it is very difficult to deal with when we have been demoted, so to speak.
And you know what else happens is you asked the question about have you ever been to the end and you thought you just couldn't make it? But it's one thing to be when you are disturbed mentally or when you disturb physically. But when both of them occurs at the same time, then where are you at? Because right now he's explaining my physical health is down. My mind is messed up. Then he's speaking about the only thing he's holding on is to his spiritual being and his relationship with God, and it sounds like it's getting weaker as he speaks.
He's getting paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could also look at this from a mental health perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know his physical, like Greg said, his physical being has declined, and we don't know how long this has been going on either. You know, and so certainly after prolonged suffering with no medication in sight that's going to heal it, no balm in Gilead to speak of. Your mind begins to be affected by that.
And he's not hearing from God because he
Yes.
keeps questioning, God, where are you?
Yeah.
You're not talking to me. I used to hear what you want me to do. I used to hear of the things that you impart on me, but I'm not getting any direction from you. God is like, it's shut up heaven. And it reminds me of Christ when he is on the donkey and everybody is throwing down the palms and everybody is praising him and you've done great work, and in less than a week he's hanging on the cross just that fast. And then when he cries out to God, where are you? And I remember Max Lucado's book, and I forgot the name of it, but when they were sitting around the big table discussing his mission, God said, you know it's going to hurt, don't you? And he said, but I am obedient. He said, but it's going to hurt, and you're not going to hear from me.
Jesus.
Yes. So Max Lucado is very, very good, and I got to get the name of the book. I can see it, but I just don't know the name of it. But they described it.
Welcome.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but just reading Job, it just seemed like although he's gone through everything he's gone through and everything else, and he's hurting and he's broken and he's going through this stuff and everything, and his friends are there with him, and they're basically beating him down and everything else. And when he responds to them, he's basically responding to what they're saying versus being hurt by what they're saying, just clearing up what they're saying, correcting them from what they're saying. But he's in between him correcting his friends from what they want to believe and think in their heads. He's talking to God and he's listening for God to respond to him, but he's not hearing from him. So he's hearing his friends in one ear, but he's trying to open up one ear, trying to hear God to speak to him. And he's constantly like, okay, this isn't what you think it is. God, I need for you to touch, reach down, tell me something so I can understand. Okay, this is not the way that it's going, but God, so he's clearing up things for his friends. He's not being bothered. I feel like reading this now, I feel like he's really not bothered by his friends. He's trying to clear things up, when they lash out and say what they think, is the issue. He clears that up for him. And his cries and his moaning isn't because he's broken, because his friend's not being supportive. He really don't care. Everything that was supportive to him and that meant the world to him is gone, And he's just crying out to God for clarity because these people can't do anything for him. So.
What's your name?
My name is Zetta Wiggins. It is so nice to meet all of you guys. These are my two children, Karen and Frank. And we live right around the corner. And I've been driving past this church, and my kids will something been telling me, like, I want to go to that church. And I kept seeing the sign saying bye, and I said, I'm gonna go there for Bible study. So it's funny to walk in and y'all on Job 32. I was listening to a sermon last night on this subject, and it was saying, that in life we have these encounters, right, where the whole world are our friends, because we're in the world but not of the world. So other people, they're going to see things and have a different perception and give us their advice, and they could really be saying it in love, but it could be wrong, because we know that we have to hold on to the truth like Job did. He knew that, well, God still ain't left me just because I lost all of my family, all of my possessions. And that's why, I think God allowed Satan to tempt Job, because in the end it was so God could get the glory. Not Job, not his friends, because God ended up giving him back double what he lost. So in the end, it was all for God to have the glory, for his friends to get that revelation too. While they was rebuking him and cursing God, even his wife said, "Curse God and die," right? And it's all in the end because God was gonna pay him back so they could all see. So that's what I try to remember when I'm going through anything. Yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying, yeah, but I know my God gonna make a way, and then all of us gonna be, because I'll be shocked when God it shocked me and everybody else, and we be like, okay. So yeah, and I think such is the story with Job. This is one of my favorite passages.
Yes.
Amen.
But thanks for welcoming me, guys.
The angel came through the door.
Yes.
I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Amen. I like that. I had that his friends were really speaking out of love because they were speaking out of their own limited understanding of God. Yeah. I think we kind of been saying that off and on, but sometimes it's still hard when you would read what they said. It would be like, oh my gosh, are they really saying this to you? And I'm sure he was feeling that too. But you're right. The bottom line for him was he had a relationship with God. And in his mind right now, God has deserted him.
Yes.
You know, I heard something this morning that Kirk Franklin said that people will say, I'm in my season, you know, and because everything's going fine. And he says, but every season is your season.
Oh,
You know,
I love it. I love it.
Okay, I was shouting in the car. And he talked about the fact that, okay, so maybe right now you're singing for 20 people. And you feel like, well, you know, I got this really awesome voice or whatever, this really gifted voice, but I only got 20 people to sing for. And then when you start singing before 2,000, you say, oh, my season has come. But your season was in preparation when you were singing before that 20
That
to
is
prepare
true.
you for the 2,000. And you got to be happy with that 20, you know, before you can get that 2,000 and understand, all right?
In that
So-
2,000, you may return to those 20.
Exactly.
That's true.
Okay.
Amen.
There you
Amen.
go.
So let us go on, and what we're doing, sweetheart, is finishing up with 31, so we can get into 32.
Okay.
Because we ran over a little bit last week.
Okay.
Okay. Last thing that Job is saying, I made a solemn pact to myself, never to undress a girl with my eyes. So what can I expect from God? What do I deserve from God Almighty above? Isn't calamity reserved for the wicked? Isn't disaster supposed to strike those who do wrong? Isn't God looking, observing how I live? Doesn't he mark every step I take? Have I walked hand in hand with falsehood or hung out in the company of deceit? Weigh me on a set of honest scales so God has proof of my integrity. If I've strayed off the straight and narrow, wanted things I had no right to, messed around with sin, go ahead then. Give my portion to someone who deserves it. I'm reading from the Message translation.
Okay, yes.
If I've let myself be seduced by a woman and conspired to go to bed with her, fine. My wife has every right to go ahead and sleep with anyone she wants to. For disgusting behavior like that, I deserve the worst punishment you can hand out. Adultery is a fire that burns the house down. I wouldn't expect anything I could count dear to survive. Have I ever been unfair to my employees when they brought a complaint to me? What then will I do when God confronts me? When God examines my books, what can I say? Didn't the same God who made me make them? Aren't we all made of the same stuff, equals before God? Have I ignored the needs of the poor, turned my back on the indigent, taken care of my own needs and fed my own face while they languished? Wasn't my home always open to them? Weren't my tables a welcoming place? Have I ever left a poor family shivering in the cold when they had no warm clothes? Didn't the poor bless me when they saw me coming, knowing that I had bought coats from my closet? If I've ever used my strength and influence to take advantage of the unfortunate, go ahead. Break both my arms, cut off all my fingers. The fear of God has kept me from these things. How else could I ever face him? Did I set my heart on making big money or worship at the bank? Did I boast about my wealth, show off because I was well off? Was I ever so awed by the sun's brilliance and moved by the moon's beauty that I let myself become seduced by them and worship them on the sly? If so, I would deserve the worst of punishments, for I would be betraying God himself. Did I ever crow over my enemy's ruin or gloat over my rival's bad luck? No, I never said a word of detraction, never cursed them even under my breath. Didn't those who worked for me saying he fed us well, they were always second helpings, and no stranger ever had to spend a night in the street. My doors were always open to travelers. Did I hide my sin the way Adam did, or conceal my guilt behind closed doors? Because I was afraid what people would say, fearing the gossip of the neighbors so much that I turned myself into a recluse? You know good and well that I didn't. Oh, if someone would give me a hearing. I've signed my name to my defense. Let the Almighty One answer. I want to see my indictment in writing. Anyone's welcome to read my defense. I'll write it on a poster and carry it around town. I'm prepared to account for every move I've ever made to anyone and everyone, prince or pauper. If the very ground that I farm accuses me, if even the furrows filled with tears for my abuse, if I've ever raked the earth for my own profit or dispossessed its rightful owners, then cursed it with thistles instead of wheat, cursed it with weeds instead of barley. Okay, he's finished now. I run out of breath and so did Job. All right, so Job is like, now look, I haven't slept with anybody. I haven't done any of those things. He's really, really having a hard time. You want to say something, Greg?
Well, you know what? He not only proclaims that that he's sinless, he's saying, I'm a pure man. Mm-hmm. You know, he's proclaiming his purity. And just like, because the things that he indicate here are what we look down on people. Mm-hmm. You know, that's just like, at that day and age, the adulterer was the worst thing you could be, and that's why he uses that. So he proclaims that not only I'm pure, I'm not guilty of anything lustful or anything of the nature. Hey, and he says, if it is, they punish me. So he's saying that he don't deserve to be punished. Yeah, and then he goes on to talk about other things, how we treat people. He say, hey, even my employees, I treat them nice. Hey, they never had a complaint.
Yeah.
He called them employees. He didn't call them servants.
She said
Yeah.
that's true, yes, not even servant, which is the norm in the Bible back then.
He
Yes,
didn't
they
even
were
call them
servants.
servants. He called them employees.
So what do you think? I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, the way he's ranting right now.
I think about that, and I know we go through that in life too. It seems like when we go through things, like, why is this happening to me? And this kind of goes back to like what you were saying, you heard Kirk Franklin say, in life we go through hills, peaks, and valleys. What's important to remember is none of them last forever. So that great season Job was in, that was your current season then. Now you in the valley. But he didn't know it at that time, but sure enough, didn't God raise him back up? You know, and I remember another part of the Bible, and this is in the New Testament after Jesus had come, but I think about even beforehand when God was the head, how the Jews in Jerusalem, he would deliver them, then they would go back to the idol worship, how they would keep, and how God and Jesus even say, you know, well, what do you expect? Look at how the world treat me. But fear not, for I've overcome the world.
Yes.
You know, so we always have to remember that, we going to be persecuted. God said,
He said.
if you going to follow me, that's the way. As Christians, we have to know if this prosperity preaching that the world put on everybody.
Come on, girl.
That's something that I'm totally against, because the prosperity that God talk about is a peace that
Come on
surpasses all understanding. You know, it's a community of friendship, you know, support from other family to build up God's kingdom. And that's the prosperity I think that God talks about. And we seek that first. All these other things.
Yes.
We'll be added
That's
unto
what the word
us.
says.
That's what I know, girl. So I love this.
And just as you say, when you got a relationship with God, you can talk directly to him.
Yes.
What he does is he demands an audience with God. He say, look, I need to talk to you. Just as Hezekiah say, when Hezekiah say, hey, I'm going to turn my face to the wall, I'm going to talk to God. That's the same thing. That's the same thing what Job was doing. Job said, hey, look, I need to have what you call an audience with you.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord.
Amen. If I can remember Remember that time? Amen. So let us move on so that we
Okay.
don't run out of time today. So anyway, now we're getting introduced to a fourth friend. So this is the third confrontation. And this young buck,
This young
the,
buck.
the young buck
Yes.
who was just sitting back, obviously, observing all of what was going on and just waiting his time. I love it. He just
Yes.
waited his time. But he saw, in his mind, they not getting nowhere. They not. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't confessed nothing. And so it's my turn. So who would like to read 32, please? Yes,
I like
please,
it.
please. Please read it.
So, I would love to do the message, but I think.
Read whatever one you
go
want to
ahead.
read.
Okay. So Job's 3 friends now fell silent. They were talked out, stymied because Job wouldn't budge an inch, wouldn't admit to an ounce of guilt. Then Elihu lost his temper. Elihu was the son of Barachel the Buzite from the clan of Ram. He blazed out in anger against Job for pitting his righteousness against God's. He was also angry with the 3 friends because they had neither come up with an answer nor proved Job wrong. Elihu had waited with Job while they spoke because they were all older than he. But when he saw that the 3 other men had exhausted their arguments, he exploded with pent-up anger. This is what Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite, said. I'm a young man, and you are all old and experienced. That's why I kept quiet and held back from joining the discussion. I kept thinking, experience will tell. The longer you live, the wiser you become. But I see I was wrong. It's God's Spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty One, that makes wise human insight possible. The experts have no corner on wisdom. Getting old doesn't guarantee good sense. So I've decided to speak up. Listen well. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. I hung on your words while you spoke, listened carefully to your arguments. While you searched for the right words, I was all ears. And now that, what have you proved? Nothing. Nothing you say has even touched Job. And don't excuse yourselves by saying, we've done our best. Now it's up to God to talk sense into him. Job has yet to contend with me. And rest assured, I won't be using your arguments. Do you 3 have nothing else to say? Of course you don't. You're total frauds. Why should I wait any longer now that you stopped dead in your tracks? I'm ready to speak my piece. That's right, it's my turn, and it's about time. I've got a lot to say, and I'm bursting to say it. The pressure has built up like lava beneath the earth. I'm a volcano ready to blow. I have to speak. I have no choice. I have to say what's on my heart, and I'm going to say it straight. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I was never any good at bootlicking. My maker would make short work of me if I started it now.
What version is that?
I love
This
that.
is
Message.
So please, Joe.
Message translation.
Is that it? Was that?
That's the end of
That's
32.
it.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Wales?
Well, this young whippersnapper said, listen here, you all
Came
have,
in.
you done shot your best shot, and you all ain't done nothing.
Right,
This
right.
man is not confessing his sin to God, and you know what? I was respectful. I let you old folks speak first, but you haven't heard what I'm going to say to him. So strap up, get ready. We about to blow this man up, and we're going to make sure that he confess his sins, because I'm tired of talking and going around the issue. We need to talk about what's really going on here. And that's a young whippersnapper for
At first I thought he was going to defend him. And he came out the gate.
Yes.
I think that gave him more respect with the elders. When they saw like he could come in and give us an opinion and even say it before he gave that opinion. I waited because you're my elder. I wanted to give you that respect and let you talk first. So even the way he came with this, he came with it in a respectful manner. And I think that garnered the
Well,
respect.
that's how he started. And then he
Yeah.
said, you know what?
Right.
I thought age made you wise.
That is true,
yes.
yeah. He
But
did.
yes.
Yeah, after he
Y'all
said
ain't
it,
done
then he said, yeah, he said,
Y'all ain't done
So I
nothing.
let
That
you
was
talk.
rough.
Actually, yeah, right. But But he started off good. I
He
think
started
had a
off good. He built it up. He's like,
Yeah,
you know
he
what?
got
I
it.
did what I can't hold it no more. I can't.
Dr. Curse.
Because their feeling is that he must have done something wrong. And you all should have been able to get him to confess by now. I mean, that's really something how we will make assumptions that somebody has had to have done something wrong, you know, and because they're going through.
That is so true. Yes.
They had to have done something wrong, and it's really amazing. Jim?
Well, as you know, I spent a little time as a policeman. And one of the things that I learned of interrogations is that the closer you get to the truth, the more likely it is to confess. You know, and I'm starting to see a parallel between that philosophy and what this young man is trying to really say here. Is that you guys have not touched on the truth yet. How do you expect him to confess because you don't know what he's saying? And I think I kind of get the feeling that's what's about to happen here.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Well,
you
let's-
have to think about, because he have not confessed, you know, maybe we're wrong. Maybe he didn't do these things to deserve what he's going through. And that didn't seem to even occur.
Right.
Because wasn't that even the truth that he had done nothing? He had done nothing wrong, right?
Exactly.
So like you said, but in the world, and people say, oh, she must have, something must have
Yeah,
happened. If they
something.
losing their
God
house,
don't
they
mess up
losing
folks
their
like
car.
that for
So,
nothing.
Right.
so just to recall, Satan was busy pacing, going back and forth, and looking for folks to mess with.
Yes.
And the Lord said, "What have you been doing?"
Uh-huh.
He said, "I've been pacing to
To
and
and
fro,
fro, looking for
up and down,
Mm-hmm.
looking for
He can-
someone to devour."
And God said,
God offered up
yeah,
Job.
have you considered my servant
Yes,
Job?
he offered him up.
But at first didn't Satan say, well, yeah, but he's untouchable because he's such a good, you know.
No,
And he's not gonna say anything bad
Because you
about
gave
you
him
because you're
everything.
giving him everything.
Right.
Yeah. So he didn't feel like that was a formidable opponent.
So I feel like God did this too, so Satan can see.
But
if
you know
God
what?
can
The reason that the young man spoke is that, you know what? He sit there and he listened to all these guys speak. And you know what? Nothing they said or everything that they did say was ineffective. So it was like, say, he was compelled to say something, just like say, and then, but he was respectful, and he told him, you know, you all are some great men, but just because you're great, that don't mean that you wise.
That's so true.
Yeah,
And people
that's
think
rough.
they come in thinking they know everything.
That's true.
Okay, let's go on to 33.
The good news. And now, Job, listen carefully to all that I have to say. I am ready to say what's on my mind. All my words are sincere, and I am speaking with the truth. God's Spirit made me and gave me life. Answer me if you can. Prepare your arguments. You and I are the same in God's sight. Both of us were formed from clay, so you have no reason to fear me. I will not overpower you. Now this is what I heard you say. I am not guilty. I have done nothing wrong. I am innocent and free from sin. But God finds excuses for attacking me and treats me like an enemy. He binds my chains on my feet. He watches every move I make. But I tell you, Job, you are wrong. God is greater than any man. Why do you accuse God of never answering the man's complaints? Although God speaks again and again, no one pays attention to what he says. At night, when men are asleep, God speaks in dreams and visions. He makes them listen to what he says, and they are frightened at his warning. God speaks to make them stop their sinning and to save them from becoming proud. He will not let them be destroyed. He saves them from death itself. God corrects a man by sending sickness and filling his body with pain. The sick man loses his appetite, and even the finest food looks revolting. His body wastes away to nothing. You can see all his bones. He is about to go to the world of the dead. Perhaps an angel may come to him, to his aid, one of God's thousands of angels who reminds men of their duty. In mercy, the angel will say, release him. He is not to go down to the world of the dead. Here is the ransom to set him free. His body will grow young and strong again. When he prays, God will answer him. He will worship God with joy. God's will sets things right for him again. He will say in public, I have sinned. I have not done right, but God spared me. He kept me from going to the world of the dark, and I am still alive. God does all this again and again. He saved the person's life and gives him the joy of living. Now, Job, listen to what I am saying. Be quiet and let me speak. But if you have something to say, let me hear it. I would gladly admit you are in the right. But if not, be quiet and listen to me, and I will teach you how to be wise.
Okay? I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to learn you something.
We all need a friend like that, right?
I'm
Somebody
going to
know what
learn
they
you
talking
something.
about, right?
Okay, Lord have mercy. If there are no comments, let us go on. Because I'm anxious to hear what
Yes.
the next thing this young man has to say. 34. Any translation you choose?
Okay, go.
Yeah, you can.
34, okay. Which translation is
That's
this?
the NRSV.
Oh, the New Revised Standard Version, okay.
Okay.
It says, Then Elihu continued and said, Hear my words, you wise men, and give ear to me, you who know. For the ear tests words as the palate tastes food. Let us choose what is right. Let us determine among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am innocent, and God has taken away my right. In spite of being right, I am counted a liar. My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. Who is there like Job, who drinks up scoffing like water, who goes in company with evildoers and walks with the wicked? For he has said, It profits one nothing to take delight in God. Therefore hear me, you who have sense. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should do wrong. For according to their deeds he will repay them, and according to their ways he will make it befall them. Of a truth, God will not do wickedly, and the Almighty will not pervert justice. Who gave him charge over the earth, and who laid on him the whole world? If he should take back his spirit to himself, and gather to himself his breath, all flesh will perish together, and all mortals return to dust. If you have understanding, hear this. Listen to what I say. Shall one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn one who is righteous and mighty, who says to a king, you scoundrel, and to princes, you wicked men, who shows no partiality to nobles, nor regards the rich more than the poor, for they are all the work of his hands. In a moment they die. At midnight the people are shaken and pass away, and the mighty are taken away by no human hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of mortals, and he sees all their steps. There is no gloom or deep darkness where evildoers may hide themselves, for he has not appointed a time for anyone to go before God in judgment. He shatters the mighty without investigation, and sets others in their place. Thus, knowing their works, he overturns them in the night, and they are crushed. He strikes them for their wickedness, while others look on, because they turned aside from following him, and had no regard for any of his ways, so that they caused the cry of the poor to come to him, and he heard the cry of the afflicted. When he is quiet, who can condemn? When he hides his face, who can behold him? Whether it be a nation or individuals, so that the godless should not reign, or those who ensnare the people. For has anyone said to God, I have endured punishment, I will not offend anymore. Teach me what I do not see. If I have done iniquity, I will do it no more. Will he then pay back to suit you because you rejected it? For you must choose, and not I. Therefore declare what you know. Those who have sense will say to me, and the wise who hear me will say, Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without insight. Would that Job were tried to the limit, because his answers are those of the wicked? for he adds rebellion to his sin. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God.
Wow.
Yeah. When we sum that up, basically, what is he saying? What is he saying about God, and what is he saying about Job?
Well, he's saying that God punishes the evil. That's what I got. He said God
Yeah.
punishes the evil. So you must have done something. He doesn't go around and take his righteous people and put them through this. So you must have done something.
Right.
God does not punish wicked people. And so you need to tell us, and you still going about saying that you haven't done anything wrong, that you've done all this for the other people in the world, that you're an upstanding citizen, and yet God is still punishing you, because that's what he does. He punishes the wicked.
Well, and you know, he started off as a respectful young man, but he got a little cocky there.
Yes.
And he got a little cocky, and then plus a lesson for all of us. What we do when we sit and listen, we have to listen carefully, because in 30, 33, and 34, he inaccurately denounces some of the things that he said that Job said, and some of those things Job did not say. It was like, if you listen to it carefully, some of the things that he said, that Job said, he did not say.
That's true. At the end of this, I was saying that, like, wait a minute, did he say that right? Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to verse 12, it says, surely God doesn't act wickedly. The Almighty doesn't distort justice. So what I heard too was that God doesn't do wicked things. Job was angry because of what was being done to him, and he's saying God doesn't do that. The God that I know does not do that. So that's, yeah, so.
Well, in 34 and 5, he says, for Job has said, I am righteous, and God had not taken away my judgment. And he did not say that directly. Job said, I am a righteous man. And then when he said, I am a righteous man, then he questioned the judgment that was upon him. He didn't say, God, I'm a righteous man. Because I'm righteous, God had not taken my judgment away. That's one of the inaccuracies. Because early on we had read, and when Job spoke, Job said, he spoke to say that I am a righteous man. Why am I being judged like this? Why is this judgment upon me?
You know what? And in this version, it kind of says, like, it says, for God has said, I am innocent, and God has taken away my right. In spite of being right, I'm being counted a liar.
My wound is
And that is what he said, basically.
Yeah.
He said, I'm doing the right things.
Yeah.
And I'm being accused as if I'm not.
Right.
So, and there was that part that I read, I can't remember.
And that's what
Job
Job
was kind of snapped, running down the laundry list of all the stuff that he's done. So now he is kind of, to me, I kind of got like, wow, you ain't done nothing wrong. And he basically said that.
And that's what Elihu is persecuting him for. Why you keep saying that you're not doing anything and that you haven't done anything wrong? That's not who God is. He don't do that. He doesn't persecute his.
He just wouldn't come out and punish you.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes, so let me go on. All right, so 35.
Okay.
I'm reading from the Common English Version. Do you think it right, you say, I'm more just than God? Yet you ask, what does it benefit you? What have I gained by avoiding sin? I'll answer you and your friends along with you. Look at the heavens and see. Scan the clouds high over you. If you've sinned, how have you affected God? Your offenses have multiplied. What have you done to him? If you are righteous, what have you done to get? What do you give to him? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your evil affects others like you, and your righteousness affects fellow human beings. People cry out because of heavy oppression, shout under the power of the mighty, but no one says, where is God my maker? Who gives songs in the night? Who teaches us more than the beasts of the earth, makes us wiser than the birds in the sky? Then they cry out, but he doesn't answer because of the pride of the wicked. God certainly doesn't respond to a deceitful cry. The Almighty doesn't pay attention to it. Although you say that you don't see him, the case is before him. So wait anxiously for him. Even though his anger is now being held back, a person doesn't know it's only delayed. So Job mouths emptiness. He piles up ignorant words.
You know, and now he's accusing Job.
Yeah,
Say,
he is. He switched.
you know what? Just like, I don't know if you all, but like I've been accused before when I first came to Christ, and I tried to do things right. I wasn't even doing them right. I was just trying to do them. And in the street where I ran, people told me, say, "Oh, you kind of self-righteous, brother." And that's what he's accusing. That's what he's accusing Job of, being self-righteous. Then he goes on and asks him, say, You think you more right than what God is. So as he continues to accuse Job, he describes the power of God.
So, and as we, wrap this up, remember, if you were there Sunday, I said that sometimes, I'm trying to remember how I put it, sometimes we when we're in a discussion with someone and we've been accused of something wrong, we don't want to admit that we have done anything. But the wrong doesn't have to be wrong. The wrong could be something really good, but it's perceived as wrong. And one of the examples I use is you might be constantly trying to do something for someone and they don't want you to do that. They want to do it themselves. And so therefore it is wrong because of how your approach. Absolutely. Okay.
Your approach is wrong.
So Job's friends have all had a little bit of truth in some of what they said. It's just how they said it.
Right.
And the damnation they put on him. The belief that you must have done something wrong. Well, to me, the only thing Job did wrong was kind of be a little full of himself. He's sitting there taking tally marks of
Like, I've been
all the
great
things.
Christian,
Yeah.
right.
And he's done those things, I'm sure. We do good things. But is it wrong or right to sit around and tell God, give God your laundry list of all the things that you've done and why you don't deserve to go through anything because you've done those things?
But
Especially when we don't know what God gonna do on the other side.
But-
Like this man didn't know what all
But
was
don't
gonna
we?
get back.
But aren't we supposed to bring our questions to God?
We
And he said, "Look here, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I've done, but God, look what I did. I'm gonna check it off for you. Look, I did all of these things. I
Remind
helped
him
the
of his
poor. I fed the
promises.
needy. I
Yeah.
did this. I did that. And yet you don't hear me. And so he's looking for an answer.
And earlier in our readings, we read where Job is asking, "Am I being punished for my youth?" So he acknowledged all the good things that he was doing as when he became a
Made
grown
up for all that.
Yeah, and
Yes.
he felt he was on the straight and narrow as an adult. But in the beginning he was saying, "Am I being punished for what I did as a youth?" So that could be one thing, because he's not doing the things that he did as a child. So he's like, "This all the
And Elihu said in 22 in the Good News, he said, there is no darkness dark enough to hide a sinner from God. God does not need to set a time
right.
for men to go and be judged by him.
I love that.
And you know what? We can ask God anything, but that does not mean He's obligated to answer us.
Yes.
That's true.
I like, because he knows what's best for us.
So it wasn't that I was saying that he shouldn't have said that, because certainly I think if we reflect back, we've all probably run our laundry list down to God when we were going through. God, I don't do this no more. I don't do that no more. All of that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it was kind of coming out there. he was making himself kind of self-righteous at some point, because part of it was that he was tired of going through.
Right.
Yeah.
He was tired.
Right.
So I'm not passing judgment on why he did it the way he did it. I'm just saying that sometimes we do that. But as we close, and what I will do, Greg, I will read the 2 chapters we missed from
Okay.
last week and let you pick up with the last
Okay.
part. Gosh, we just didn't have enough time for this, but Job has been good for us. And thank you, Andrea,
Yes.
for suggesting that. We're so grateful for those of you that tuned in to us, and we just ask God to bless you mightily. And if you happen to not have a church home, Grace United Church of Christ is always welcome with open arms to receive you. We're open. We're here tonight. We're here on Wednesday nights for the food pantry, and Sunday school starts on Sunday at 9:30, 11 at worship with praise and worship. And we do praise God.